Hey, this is Christian Buckley with another MVP Buzz Chat, and I'm here this morning with Adis. And good morning.
Good evening, Christian. I'm talking from another side of the pond. Hey, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing really well. So for folks that don't know you, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us about yourself, where you are, what you do, and how long you've been an MVP, all kind of those good details.
Oh, right. My name is Adis Jugo. I'm living and working from Germany in Europe. In my day job, I'm working as a Chief Strategy Officer for SysKit, company that was formerly known as Acceleration. For all of you folks who are in the SharePoint space, you probably already know SP Docket, SharePoint Documentation Toolkit. We are also very active in the Office 365 governance space, in Microsoft 365 governance space. Basically, we want you, when you think of Office 365 governance, to first think of us. That's basically what we do. Night job is basically, some people have different hobbies. Some have dogs, some play football. I'm organizing conferences. So my night job basically is an organization of European Collaboration Summit, which turned to be, according to Microsoft, officially the largest community initiated Microsoft community initiated the event in the world, with 2,100 attendees this year.
That is fantastic. I know that. It's numbers. It's huge. For those that aren't aware too, there's an American component of that. So Rackley running that one out of Branson, Missouri, which is a great event as well.
Yeah,
it's a great sister
event. The difference is we are actually doing it in a civilized area, whereas Rackley is doing it in Branson.
Right. If people don't know where Branson is too, that's like, what is that, right near where Walmart was headquartered? And but it's it's beautiful out there. But I'm telling you, like, coming from the Western U.S., you have got to fly like I think I got there last year via Atlanta and then to Branson. There was a direct flight from the West.
Think how much courage Mark had to have to place a community event actually there and to actually make it working. So here's kudos to Mark.
Yeah.
So our sister conference is in Branson, Missouri, for better or worse. And I was there for the past 2 years. I will probably be there also the next year. So so that's my night job passion, basically organizing this conference. There are a lot of it's a lot of work, but it's really a lot of fun, Christian. You, as someone who is active in community, who know that you know how much fun this can be and how much pleasure it can bring.
I know, and your event always gets such high praise from all the speakers. And as you and I have talked about the last couple of years, I mean, the difficulty is that you put it the week following the SharePoint conference in Vegas.
This time 2 weeks.
Well, yeah, it's difficult to, as you know, I mean, it's a huge effort, especially when you're independent, to be on the road for that long with major events. But it's and let me ask you too. I mean, I was a little bit disappointed that you moved venues. It's great that you moved it to Germany. It's growing, but your previous location
was in Croatia.
Was incredibly beautiful locations there.
Well, that's true, but we have at some point of time realized that maybe 1/3 of people were coming there from Croatia and the 2/3 of people were coming from everywhere else in Europe. And in Croatia, we had people from the States coming, we had people from South Africa coming, we had people from India coming. So it was, even there, we had people from all over. So basically, we teamed up with Matthias and SharePoint Saturday Munich back then and said, okay, let's join the forces, and Germany is still central in Europe, and it's easier to fly to Frankfurt, which is the second largest European airport, and to fly to Zagreb. It's always one leg less to fly. This is all those little things, it's not. So we do miss Zagreb. We might make a spin-off in Zagreb at some point, just for the sake of fun. But the main event is going to remain in Germany for the time being.
Well, it's great to see that up and running. Besides that, so you've been in the space for a long time. I think I got to know you. Because when I used to do a lot of the SharePoint Saturday events, you've been very involved in the community. Kind of, what are your? So I know what what your company does. I mean, what have you been out there talking about? Kind of what are your areas of passion? What are you known for, the topics?
I am a developer, so by background, even if nowadays I do a lot of other stuff besides development, or you can even argue the least what I do today is development. But I am developer by background, and my way of thinking is like that. So actually, I move with the space as developer space moves. I was SharePoint MVP when this thing started as SharePoint MVPs. You remember the times, and they changed our names for 7 or 8 times in the meantime. Now until recently, I was Office Apps and Services MVP and Office Development MVP. Now, 5 days ago, I switched it to Azure MVP, Azure instead of Office Tab. So what I do right now mainly is, of course, connected to my company. That is a lot of prototyping on Office 365 and Azure, how those things go together, how to delegate some services from Office 365 to Azure, how the whole thing from the developer point of view or from the software architect's point of view construct. I am partly also involved in what's going on with SharePoint framework, but not that much. I crystallize myself to be more on the Azure side and on the backend side of the things, which is probably a good thing. And this is actually what I do. My top, it always reflects to what I talk to people about. Right now, I was looking my session for this year. One is replacing event handlers and timer jobs in Office 365. So for the old SharePoint developers who used to develop those things in a classic way, how can they do it in Office 365? Another topic I have is enriching SharePoint data, creating automated metadata extraction on SharePoint Online using Azure Cognitive Services, and this kind of stuff. So you see, it's basically development, connecting SharePoint Online and Office 365 on one side and Azure on another side.
You know, that's fascinating, because just to dig in a little bit deeper into that metadata extraction, I mean, that remains. So I talk a lot with people, with MVPs about, as you know, about information architecture, and that's core part of governance and management and search and kind of all those topics. And how much do you rely on the structure and make your environment, Office 365, what's the right phrase for it? So to make it very structured, so that as people interact with them, it pulls out certain data. It forces them to, maybe this is too strong of a phrase there, forces them to go in there and apply certain metadata rules around that. You have to balance that between some level of manual and automated. And I think most organizations are failing on the automation side of that.
And they don't even realize how actually convenient that is nowadays with Azure Cognitive Services. I mean, I call it, I always try to put some fun, some jokes on my sessions. I call it Cognitive Services, I call it machine learning and AI for poor people, in a joke. It basically is machine learning abstracted to a level where basically everybody can use it. You don't even have to be a developer. Of course, it's easier if you can develop it, if you put that in SPFX. But you can even use Power Apps. You can use Flow for the stuff like that. Last week, I was in SharePoint Saturday Netherlands in Vianen, which is basically probably one of the best, not probably, is for sure one of the best SharePoint Saturdays on our side of pond. Those guys are doing a marvelous job. So I was
even though they're gonna lose the World Cup to the US.
I'm pulling the neutrality here. So there's those football, or how you call it on the other side of pond, soccer. We call it proper football. There's this rivalry between Germany and Netherlands, always in the sport. We're going to see how the World Cup is going to end. But I was uploading the picture of their football player Arjen Robben in SharePoint document library, and there was immediately tagging through Cognitive Services Arjen Robben throwing a ball. And I heard voices from audience, "You faked it." I was like, "No, I didn't. Let's find any other picture, any other football player." Boom, upload document library, it works. So people don't realize how good it actually in the meantime is. So we are not anymore in 2007 times, you remember very well, when all those third-party metadata extraction tools, they were not bad, but they were using the classical dig into the file, try to find the keywords, return those keywords, and hope for the best.
Right.
We have actually AI working over the same data now, actually giving you the keyword relevancy on the scale from 0 to 1, where 1 being totally relevant, 0 being totally irrelevant, giving you the relevancy of the keyword applied to your content. It's actually brilliant.
And so, but how much of that is truly like, you know, like out of the box, or how much does it have to learn to adapt to be able to prove to be that, you know, that useful for an organization? Because that was one of the, you know, and I know it's slightly different here, but like when Delve was announced and they went out and Microsoft really started talking about AI and machine learning and these cognitive services, that was kind of that first application. And most people, like, they went and they saw it and they saw no data. And there are multiple problems there. That, you know, one, it didn't have the connectors, the edges into the various workloads, the services that are out there. So if there's no data to populate it, your results are not going to be great. But then it also needed to have interaction and for you to learn and say, no, that is not correct, or actually this is missing from it, for the system to learn and adapt and get better. So, you know, we've had a few years under our belt. Somebody goes and builds this kind of automation, starts working with cognitive services. I mean, again, how much footwork needs to happen behind the scenes of the developer side to make that actually business relevant? And
let me crash this directly here in the talk. If you are able to make a flow, simplest of flows, upload document, extract document ID, save document. If you are able to do that, you are able to use this cognitive services. So we are speaking basically the very low entry level. Of course, if you are a developer, you can do way more. Then you know what the endpoints are and how they are working. But in order to make this Arjen Robben thing working, what I told you, Arjen Robben throwing a ball, you don't need to be a developer. You just need to be able to make a basic flow in order for that to work. The learning part, the thing learning about us. So the beauty of cognitive services, it is relying on Microsoft ML and the AI stack underneath, obviously. So it gives you the whole learning from all the other people in the world using in the same time too. At some point of time, this thing learned how Arjen Robben looks like, and what the ball is, and what the action of throwing the ball is. And it's able, basically, without learning about your business, to recognize those things and actually to make a meaningful sentence about it.
How are you seeing this newer technology, accepted? It seems like it's still, there's a ton going on, and we've got to be careful in the community that we're all talking to each other. We're learning about these exciting projects. Is that a true reflection of adoption and usage that's happening out within the customer base?
Well, we do know that the customer base always comes 2-3 years later. So I remember when you started talking about governance, for a lot of people was like, what is Buckley talking about right now? And 2 years later is basically everybody was talking about governance. The point is, especially in Europe. Sometimes Europe can be pretty conservative. Even if Netherlands is actually one of the more progressive parts of Europe. I get questions like, but I'm working for a government, we are a contractor for a government, we can't send things to cloud. Can I have the cognitive services on premises? And my answer was, you would need a really big computer. You would probably need such a large computer that you wouldn't be able to fit it in any of your governance offices. So people are still sometimes thinking the old ways. Yes, I do realize there are government contractors, financial contractors, defense contractors, right? But they are going to need to find some other ways to do that. But let's say for standard, normal businesses running who are not afraid of running in the cloud, and honestly, I had my first Office 365 talk in 2011. So I think we should in the meantime get kind of used and comfortable with Office 365 being with us. It's coming. A lot of people don't know it's there. A lot of people say, oh, we have Office 365, we have Azure, why don't we combine those things? I see this becoming the whole machine learning and AI. I see this becoming a huge topic, major topic in the next 2 to 3 years.
You know what's fascinating? So I had an interview earlier this week with someone. We were talking about, just as you and I, before we started recording, we're talking about my startup days back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And, so I went to a startup in early 2001, a company called E2Open, and built a hosted collaboration, hub and spoke model collaboration platform. But it was a dedicated cloud environment for our clients. And we were dealing with, initially, we had 10 or 12 founding companies, little companies like IBM, Selectron, Nortel, Lucent, like little companies. And we struggled with them. These were the companies that founded us, this company, to convince them to move assets over into the cloud. And that was in 2001, 2002. What I find fascinating is that here we are, 2019, when we recorded this, and a lot of those same concerns, I mean, less or so, there's more companies that are out doing things, but those same concerns are there. And what usually happens in those conversations, and I would argue this, you probably experience this even over in some, contractor and government entities in Europe that are tighter controls over personal information usage. They say, we can't go and use these cloud assets. And then you go and look at their infrastructure and you find that's a cloud service. That's a cloud service. You're using these things already today. I mean, how much are you having to do, now in 2019, education around the security of the cloud and the risks of the cloud versus doing it themselves on-prem?
Hey, you pinpoint the problem. They are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to move the stuff on-prem, which exists on cloud. And then yet in the same time, you go to a department and you see people there using travel and putting all other sensitive information basically in that travel thing. Like,
we should talk about how our concerns of security, let's discuss that in our Slack channel.
Right. Let's discuss this in our Slack channel. That's actually a perfect example. So yeah, I have seen that there are going to be customers who will never be able to move to the cloud. And we know that, we need to know that hybrid is probably here to stay for a lot of companies, for a lot of services. But I also have really one of my old customers who still talk to me. That was supposed to be a joke. They're like, but can we, with our information, can we move to look? You guys are selling real estates. You are not making weapons. You are not the defense contractor. You are not a bank. You are just selling real estate. There's no reason for you literally not to go to cloud.
Right.
This is like,
well, I mean, I think one of the, from my perspective, in working predominantly with the small to medium-sized businesses, even in the ISV marketplace, all of my clients really are in the ISV space. But is that what it has done? It's lowered the barrier of entry for startups. Like you and I could go spin up and start a company and have access to incredibly mature and powerful tools and capability. We don't have to go and build that up. It's no longer a barrier for and so that's something. That's why you see more and more, born in the cloud is the phrase that's used. Companies that are starting up, and the danger then becomes, and I agree with you, hybrid's not going away. As you know, I mean, I've done the research on it. The numbers we proved, Microsoft sponsored that research. They were also surprised by the strength of hybrid in the SharePoint space. We're actually wrapping up, so I can't share the updated stats, but we have a 2019 refresh of that 2017 study,
Okay.
which you can find if you go to hybrid.collabtalk.com or hybrid SharePoint. If you type in hybrid SharePoint CollabTalk in search, you'll find it. But it's a free report that's out there that came out in Q1 2017. But in Q1 2017, it was that over the next 3 to 5 years, that 70% or more of SharePoint environments would be hybrid. And I think the data from the update shows that the move towards the cloud has accelerated, which we also said was going to happen. But it's still a sizable majority of organizations that say we have no date on the calendar of when we'll turn off these on-prem components.
Yep.
It makes business sense for us to maintain, do that. So hybrid will continue being around.
There are lots of different reasons for that. Even I mean, we have seen a customer who has applications developed on top of SharePoint on premises, which they know they are going to use for the next 4 to 5 years, but not longer. This is where the life cycle of that application is going to die.
Right.
For them to redevelop that for cloud would literally be too expensive. It's cheaper to upgrade SharePoint to the next version and to keep it running for the next 1 or 2 versions than to pay army of developers to take that apart and redevelop it as a service.
Right. Well, that was the kind of the key, the whole switch from capital expenditures to operational expenditures. And I just kind of put my project management 101 hat on and said, we can't go spend new money until we've achieved the benefits of the money we've already spent.
Right.
So right there, that delays a move towards the cloud. But I do think that it's smart what Microsoft did and a lot of other vendors of going and recognizing this and spending more time, making more investment in hybrid, in connectors, and making it easier to leverage those legacy on-premises environments and tools and systems and all that you've built, but also taking advantage of the new features that are in the cloud.
That's perfectly true. I mean, if you remember, now I'm going to pull the very first public demo of Power Apps, which was done by Scott Hanselman on Channel 9, where he basically took as a case, he took an ages-old SQL database, which was somewhere on premises, and there was an application out of that. He put the on-prem gateway, got the data app, and put the Power App around it. In half an hour, the thing was working. So yeah, we will see the models working it. Are they glitches? Let's not do the marketing talk. Are there glitches in that process? Yes, they are. Are there ways around those glitches? Yes, they are. So it is possible. We'll see, especially in the space of Power BI. A lot of people are taking data to the on-prem gateway to actually do some decent dashboards in cloud. If they don't want to invest in the Power BI on-prem infrastructure, which is now also possible. But a lot of people are doing exactly that way, doing the gateway, pushing the data to the Power BI service in the cloud and doing the dashboards in the cloud. We are going to see those stuff more and more. Search, I don't even start with search. This unified search is a big thing right now.
Well, yeah. So I had that exact scenario. I had a healthcare client that was concerned about pushing data from one of their on-premises environments to the cloud, and so they did exactly that. They had that gateway. They essentially created a cloud-based, like a data mart, a subset of that would on a regular basis publish changes to that, but then had all the reporting, their dashboards with all of the real-time and cloud-based data all integrated into that dashboard. And so they were able to modernize their business while maintaining their concerns. And I would argue that most of their concerns were unfounded, around the security risks of having to maintain that. But it's not for me to say, not my business. I was saying, look, it is possible to do that. Here's how you can go and do that, and in a very cost-effective manner. So there are definitely solutions that are out there for those clients that have to maintain that infrastructure.
I mean, even for us, which is a cloud company. We have our CRM still, for the reasons why we are running it in Sage, is we have our CRM still on premises, but we have our dashboards in cloud. Since we are also a distributed team, not everybody sits in the SysKit headquarters. A lot of us are around the globe. That just works that way.
Yep. Well, Adis, I really appreciate this. Is it's a great topic. I know that we could spend an hour just digging into on the dev side of that and what's happening, and kind of a question that I thought we would go into, but it was the what's changed about the development experience with this transition. I think maybe we should come back and connect again and dive into the topic a lot.
I mean, developer 10 years ago, especially SharePoint developer 10 years ago, and SharePoint developer today are two different personas.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, Adis, how do people want to find out more about you? What's the best way to get in touch with you and connect with you?
The best way is either Twitter, where I'm semi-active, but I am there, or to my blog posts. I am blogging on two platforms, actually. I have my own adisjugo.com, which is my standard blog post, which is going on. But I also now blog a lot on SysKit's platform, blogging platform, exactly about the topics we actually talked about. Maintaining power-ups and flows, actually, it's a big topic. We have power-ups and flows, but how to maintain it, how to do the governance. Not an easy thing to do. They are ways and going around to do that. My blog post, my Twitter, and what I would love for the people how to connect with me, my preferred way would be people coming to Wiesbaden in June 2020 and having a coffee or a beer together.
Yeah, that's what. Just you want to find out a little bit more about Adis. Book flights now. Purchase a ticket. Go to the conference. And
our conference tickets are insanely expensive. They're going to be $180 to $200 this year. This is insane for a 3-day conference.
Yeah, those are crazy numbers. I don't see how you're getting 2,100 people. Wow.
Yeah, these are crazy numbers. Yeah, the point is, it's a community-initiated conference. We are not making our own bucks out of that. So we have day jobs. This is our fun, what we do for the. So basically, yeah. Especially if you are in Europe, you are actually crazy if you don't come. Basically, it's fun. It's 2,000 people. It's the best speakers in the world. We are hoping to get Christian Buckley at some point of time as well. We had 25 Microsoft corporate speakers here, including big names in Microsoft, mainly from the Office 365 SharePoint group and Teams group this year. A lot of Teams people from Microsoft were with us. We had 14 AWS people. AWS is also there, but from the community perspective, 11 regional directors and 71 MVPs.
Wow.
I think those are the numbers that are really unparalleled anywhere. Yeah. So, sessions are really good. We had average sessions rating like 4.8 or something really crazy out of 5. Food is good, drinks are good, fun is really good. So, what's there not to like?
Well, I hope to be there this next year. So looking forward to the call to speakers and getting some ideas out there, and we'll see what happens.
September.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, it was great talking to you as always. And we'll talk soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye, man.